have those milestones and those goals, write them down and hold yourself accountable. But also, like you had just mentioned, be proud of the journey so far. I feel like we're all our biggest critics sometimes. There's no point in doing this if you're not really enjoying the growth that comes along with it.
Welcome to the Obsessed with Real Estate show. I am your host, Alana George, and I am obsessed with real estate. Let me tell you. I'm excited to present to you our show today. I had an amazing guest, Robert Arroyo, aka Real Estate Rob 23 on Instagram, whom I follow. And he shares with us how he got started in building his 15-unit portfolio, as well as why he loves the book Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, whose name escaped both of us during the interview. And as soon as I stopped recording, it came to me. So isn't that how it happens? And he shares with us what weird thing he used the internet for back when it was invented. So you'll have to stay tuned to find out what that was. But before we jump in, I want to just touch upon, I'm having to record this on my phone today, on my iPhone instead of my computer because my computer died. And the charger is at my office. And that's 40 minutes away. And I have a technician coming to check out our heater that is broken. So, the show must go on, just making it work. We'll see. This could be a better video quality. It could be worse. This could end up in the trash can and I have to re-record the whole thing. So more will be revealed. I'm just happy to be here and having another conversation about real estate. Also, when this show is airing and you're listening to it or watching it, it should be New Year's. So happy New Year's. And I am so excited. This is my favorite time of the year, as I share in the episode, because I get so charged energy-wise talking about the year to come. I get full of hope and just, like I said, energy around what I plan to do this year. And looking at everything we did in the last year. A year goes by so fast, but so much happens in a year. Your life can completely change in a year. And every year I set New Year's resolutions. And I say resolutions in air quotes because some of them are resolutions, but a lot of them are just general things I would like to do that year, like a checklist, right? Do I want to travel that year to Hawaii, or do I want to, go on a date night once a month, right? I don't know if those are classified as resolutions, but kind of just at the end of the year, I would be really happy with myself if I look back and that year I did all of these things, right? I admittedly, usually my list is anywhere from 13 to 15 items. So I get super ambitious. And I keep them all in a special book I don't have here, but I probably average 8 or 9 of those things done every year. And I like it. And it keeps track. I like looking back at the years prior and see, oh, what did I do in 2012 that felt significant? So it's fun for me. And I encourage, if you're listening to this, maybe just jot down a few things. If you're not really into New Year's resolutions, that's okay. I know they have a bad rap. People hate on New Year's resolutions all the time, but I'm a huge fan and I love them. And you're more than welcome to share yours with me. I will share mine with you. That is a promise I will keep. And I probably will share a few of them on here once I meet with my group to go over that. But I share that with my homegirls. So I encourage you to do that. Let's get into the show. All right. Welcome, Robert Arroyo, to the Obsessed with Real Estate show. Robert, aka Real Estate Rob, here. I'm so grateful to have you on our show.
Right on. Thanks, Alana. I really appreciate that. It's a blessing and a great opportunity just to kind of discuss with yourself and share my journey and, talk about all things real estate. So let's get into it.
Totally. My favorite topic. So
it's the
Robert,
only topic, really.
The only topic. I just wait until that one comes up, and I should be more aggressive of bringing it up. So Rob and I just met recently in person at BPCon, but I was following him for probably at least a year prior to that. I actually knew his wife from my pageantry days. And I don't talk about this very often. I think it was like 20 years ago when I was a teenager. I competed in pageants, and his wife, Ashley, who's a total sweetheart, did as well. And so we've been friends on Facebook ever since. I've been watching her life from a distance, and she tagged Real Estate Rob and some of her posts. And of course, I see the word real estate, and I'm like obsessed. So I went down like a clicking rabbit hole of finding out who is Real Estate Rob, and come to find out, he's doing a lot of cool real estate stuff, posting a lot of great stories, looking like flips out of state, lots of content. And I just really enjoyed his page. So when I got the opportunity to meet him at BPCon, I definitely seized it. And I needed to know more. So I invited him on the show. So here we are. And I'd love for you to just go ahead and jump right into your background. Where are you coming from? What got you into real estate?
Yeah, sure. So as far as the background goes, I've been a trades worker since the early 2010s. I got into the electrical union. I was an inside wireman apprentice back in 2011. To my knowledge, I feel like that was like a really young time to get into the good old blue collar work. And to be honest, it was what I wanted at that time. And I don't regret it at all, because I was able to learn a lot of different assets, is pretty much what it is, the different skill sets, understanding how construction works, understanding the importance of having good integrity with the electrical system of commercial buildings, multifamily, business, and single family residential, right? I started off doing the electrical trade stuff. It was very brutal. I learned pretty quickly that maybe it wasn't cut out for me, right? And from there, I transitioned from higher voltage work, and it progressively got lower and lower. Like for a while, I was doing security installs for ADT, super low voltage stuff. Yeah, I did like security cameras. It was a cool gig. It definitely kind of got me out of my shell, because I was having to interact with the customers and be more talkative and sometimes sell them on certain things, not to sound like I was pitching them anything, but if they had intrigue in, like, let's say buying another security camera for their home, I had to just guide them through the process, give them the pros and cons, right? And then from there, that's actually where I found the current career I'm in right now. I do corrosion mitigation as a contractor for PG&E.
Wow.
Been doing that for going on 6 years now. Yeah, time flies, but it's been a definite blessing and a great opportunity, because it's put me in a situation to where I could invest and start other streams of income, if you will. And that's where I met, one of my business partners, well, both of them actually. And that's kind of where we had that discussion of, like, what do you want out of life? It is pretty much how it was a proposition to me. It started off as, hey, I just kind of want to get like one house for each kid, nothing too crazy. And then it turned into this whole, you should read Rich Dad, Poor Dad if you have any ambition of owning more than one property. And I picked up the book, and, the book we all read, right? And it kind of just really put things into perspective, Yeah,
I 100% agree. And that's really interesting that you're even having those types of conversations at work, because not a lot of people have those conversations with their coworkers. So you must have had a pretty close bond with these guys, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. We were pretty much, road spouses. We would always travel together. I think it kind of started off like we had a couple beers hanging out in Fresno one night. It's this like local bar called the Doghouse. And that's kind of where the initial conversation started. And my business partner said, hey, check out these new builds I'm doing. This is like 2018 going into 2019. And I just thought, wow, man, that's really interesting. I want to get into that too. And, fast forward about 3 months later, I got my first deal in contract. 2019, it was a flip. It was actually my father-in-law's property. He had owned it for years, right? It was beat up pretty bad. I'll just be honest. It needed a lot of work.
Yeah.
And subsequently, that's how I also figured out, hey, that was my first creative deal as well, simultaneously.
Okay. Yeah. And tell me more about creative? Do you mean financing or you mean like doing the work?
Creative terms. So essentially, he had a number in mind. He said, "Hey, I know this house needs a ton of work. This is the kind of number I had in his mind, right?"
Mm-hmm.
Very transparent. So I'll just come out and say it. It was he said he wanted 220 for the sell price.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked into it. I ran comps. I said, "Hey, this thing could probably sell for 330, 340 if I do, a decent rehab on it." It was I saw the rehab at the ARV, pardon me, at 340,000. Got in contract. So what I did was I did something kind of risky. A lot of people probably would advise against it, specifically, your financial advisor friends. I took out a bunch of credit card debt. I ended up maxing a couple of them out, tapped into my savings, and I basically put 60K into the rehab. So all in all, I was all in for about 280,000. Ended up selling at 350. I worked with my aunt as the realtor. So after closing costs, commissions, I want to say the net was somewhere about 325-ish.
Awesome. Amazing.
The crazy part is that's actually how I got the down payment for my primary residence, which is a house hack.
Yes, which is really smart that you took that and then house hacked with it. Was that hard to get Ashley, your wife, on board to house hack, or was she already like on the, same page as far as like Rich Dad Poor Dad or investing in real estate? Was that weird to her, or she was like in it?
Great question. So funny enough, she was a little gun shy about the idea of investing in real estate because, her father had some ups and downs while he himself was purchasing properties and rehabbing them and renting them out. And funny enough, it took a while, to kind of get both of us on the same page.
Yeah.
But funny enough, she was actually the person that found the house we live in today.
Wow.
Because I told her, I said, "Hey, I didn't want to pay over, I think it was like 550 at the time. This is 2019 going into 2020.
Yeah.
And she said, "Hey, it's a little bit higher than our budget, but it has a built-in in-law unit. It's already permitted. It's got, it's a little 1-by-1 studio." And she's like, "What do you think it could rent for?" So, me being the real estate person I am, I said, "All right, cool. Let's see what this looks like." And sure enough, I said, "Hey, this can get like $1,500 all day. This would actually bring our mortgage down from, $3,800 down to $2,300, living in the Bay Area for basically Central Valley or Sacramento prices."
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's a steal. That's amazing. I wish that the house that we bought had that. When we bought our house, we actually did rent out one of the rooms to an old coworker of my husband. So he was on board with that because he knew him and already trusted him. And that's fine by me. I've mentioned previously, but like, I feel like I could live in a shoebox as long as I can buy more real estate.
I'm all about it. Yeah. And like now I feel like the hard part is you're just trying to navigate because we're in a very interesting, real estate market. Prices are still super high. Interest rates are through the roof, but man, there's so much opportunity still. There's still all these sellers are giving a lot of incentives, rate buy downs, covering closing costs. It's still a really good time to buy, but it's like move with caution, right? I almost think that when it comes down to it, I don't believe I'll ever buy a piece of California real estate that won't cash flow, meaning everything's got to be a house hack from here on out. So sorry, right. Ashley.
Yeah, if she wants to stay in California, for sure.
Yeah, no, she's on board. She's on board now. She loves it. She sees the benefit of it. So yeah,
that's good. Great. My husband is on board with real estate. He's not as on board with house hacking, just for this, stage of our lives. I mean, having kids does change things, right? So having somebody live in the house, not as comfortable with, but I've even looked into, there's like sites kind of like Airbnb, but for renting your land for camping. And
renting your land or renting your space. Yeah. I've seen that too.
Have you seen that? And I tried to present that.
Is it called Peer Space? Is that the same one?
I don't know. I thought this was like specific for like being outdoorsy. If I find it, I'll put it in the show links and I'll send it to you. But
Yeah,
specific,
please do.
yeah, for campground, like, on people's properties, because we live down the street from Big Basin State Park. And
Oh,
so
no
it's,
kidding.
yeah, a lot of redwoods. It's gorgeous. We basically live in a park. And so I was like, yeah, we could just, rent some space, but he's not about having people close to his stuff.
We'll call that one land hacking. That's what that one is.
Land hacking. Yeah. So, I mean, I've looked into the options, but that's okay. He's on board now for real estate investing. So I always like to find out like what was the dynamic there, right? It sounds like she saw the possibilities of getting this house that she wanted if she could get you on board, and the loophole was it was out of our price range, but it had the granny unit, right?
Yeah, the extra rental income. And as far as like getting both of us on the same page in regards to like just overall straight up investing as a landlord, I did a couple cash out refinances with some private money. Yeah, so my first couple deals were all private money funded, and then I did a cash out refi with a local lender. And my business partners were out here working in California. They're both from Texas, but they lived out here in California during the week. So we had those checks mailed to my house.
And she saw them.
She saw the cash out refinances, and she said, "Hey, what is this?" And I said, "Hey, it's a check for my business." And she's like, "Oh, it's a like she just flat out said, she's like, this is a lot of money." And I said, "Yeah, I'm paying back my lender, of course, but we're basically getting a house for free." And at that point, I think that's when the light bulb went off. She's like, "Oh, we're investing, yeah, but we're investing with we're lowering the risk, lowering mitigation, by investing out of state in Texas where it's no pay, no stay. And has more, landlord friendly policies." Right.
Right. And cash out refis are non-taxable events.
That's the other thing too. Yep. Not having to pay the extra, what is it? Self-employment tax or capital gains. So
capital gains. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. That's one of the reasons I like it so much. So, so your first deal was that flip.
Yes.
Was, creative with the numbers a bit, and you did credit cards, which, a lot of people would say don't do. I have heard that from investors, right? Especially just starting out, just put on your credit card, right? It's high interest, but if the numbers work, the numbers work.
That's the thing. I opened up 3 accounts, like back to back to back. They were all, I think, like $10,000 credit limits, and there were zero intro APR for the first 12 months.
Oh my gosh.
I thought, right. And I thought to myself, if I can't sell this thing in 12 months, then I need to reassess my investing strategy, right?
Yeah, exactly. Not quit, just reassess your strategy. Yeah, maybe get a little bit more education.
Yeah, there's no fun in quitting. No one likes a quitter. I kind of pride myself in having that internal, that grit and that drive just to persevere through all the trials and tribulations. Because at the end of the day, that's what's going to make me a better father to my children, husband, and just a better overall person in general. Building that character.
Absolutely. Well, and pressing through, that's what makes you a successful real estate investor, because there's always trials and tribulations and nothing ever goes as planned. I mean, was that rehab exactly as much as you budgeted?
No, absolutely not. To be quite frank, I think I ran numbers with my my GC at the time, family member, and he told me, he's like, "Yeah, man, we can remodel this thing for $35,000." And I thought, okay, I mean, that shouldn't be too bad. I got those 3 lines of credit all at $10K a pop, right? And I thought, yeah, we could do this just fine. And the total numbers ended up being, I think I mentioned it earlier, something like almost double that.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of hidden surprises, So
yeah, you got to roll with the punches. And I know with my first investment, I just kept thinking like, this is going to make a better story. This is going to make a better story.
It always does. It always does. Yeah. Because, no one likes when you wave the flag of surrender, right? You got to push through those times. Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
And if your first deal is too easy, right, it's going to set you up for failure on your next one. So get all the tough stuff out of the way. What would you say you learned from that deal?
I would say the biggest thing I learned from that deal is what you might save in going with more affordable contractors. You can definitely experience, longer delays in getting the work done. So from here on out, my whole mentality has been, I don't mind paying 10, 15% more than what the lower contractors are bidding, as long as I know it's going to get done in a timely fashion.
Yeah.
I'm totally going to butcher the saying. I think it's something like, you can get something done for cheap, fast, or quickly. You could have two of them, but you can't have all three.
Right. I think it's cheap, fast, or quality.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it.
Those are the three. You can get two, but not all three. Yeah, I agree. And sometimes it takes going through that experience of hiring the cheapest to see that you really get what you pay for, right? And it's a lot of times not worth it, because I've had to hire then people to come in after that, and it ends up being more than the higher initial quote. So
yeah, what is the other saying? It's if you think hiring an expensive contractor is pricey, wait until you hire a cheap one.
yeah, exactly. That's a good one too.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said it, because that's one I definitely would have butchered. So tell me, Robert, about your current portfolio.
So current portfolio, I have 10 properties with my LLC partnership, and that's with myself, two other individuals. We got that going back in like May of 2020. They're all long-term rentals. One of them's a short-term rental out in Broken Bow, Oklahoma. The rest are in East Texas, about 2 hours east of Dallas, out in Long.
Okay. And who manages those?
So we actually have a property manager come in, and we were self-managing at first. And let me tell you, it is probably some of the best money well spent, because, I think we're grossing like about $11K a month from those long-term rentals. Mm-hmm. And I will happily pay, my property manager 10% just not to deal with the headache, because it was it was awful. It was an awful experience. But that's the beautiful thing about real estate and investing is you essentially figure out what it is that you're good at and what it is that you enjoy. And for the things that you may or may not, that might not be your specialty, just subcontract that stuff out, because your time is better well spent on the things that you truly enjoy.
I agree. That's what I love. I'm always looking for opportunities to take things off of my plate. Tell me a little bit more about your partnerships. Has that ever been an issue? Is there just trust involved? Did you come up with an outline of who does what? I'd love to hear more.
So as far as partnerships go, one of the really important things to kind of get all out there and just kind of square away is, yes, the roles and responsibilities, along with just having clear expectations on what it is that everyone kind of wants out of that partnership. In our situation, it was cash flow. And now we've actually looked more into doing like active income through that partnership, such as, flips, wholesales, seller finance, things of that nature.
Okay. And what's your role?
So something that I've actually taken along throughout the process is I used to be the GC, so to speak. Like I would help manage projects, get, just little things like getting the utilities turned on, help basically manage the flow of the project. And recently, within the last, 3 or 4 months, we've actually found a really solid GC, and he kind of just handles everything now. So now we have the property management, we have the GC in place, we have local agents, I should say. It's come to the point now to where it's almost on full automation. And this is just something I've been just so excited to get to in this point, because now I get to actually focus and put my efforts in, other investing strategies. Or something I've been looking at doing now is consulting for people that want to get started investing in real estate. And essentially like, hey, I get them in contact with a hard money lender, walk them through the process, get them in contact with the GC to manage the rehab. Then once the property is done, we either list it with a local agent, or get them in contact with a local lender so they could do a cash out refi. And I could basically facilitate the entire transaction for them for, a small fee.
Yeah, just hold their hand. I think a lot of people would be willing to do that because there's a lot of fear around your first deal, and just having somebody that's experienced, who's gone through it, who can answer your questions. I think there's definitely a need for that.
Yeah, 100%. It's one of the biggest things I've noticed for new investors that they struggle with, and myself included, was analysis paralysis. Just basically where you overanalyze the properties. It kind of just has a lot of pent up anxiety, and you sit there twiddling your thumbs, spending more time looking at deals as opposed to actually taking the correct action steps to get these things done.
I can agree with that. I get that sometimes with multifamily analysis still. And
same. Yeah, it never goes away. It helps though once you have somebody or once you've gone through the process.
Yes, which is why, I have a coach for multifamily investing, because I had gotten to that stage. I was finding off-market deals and talking to sellers. And as soon as I got to the analysis, I was like second guessing myself. And it was really weird because I read all the books and I listened to all the podcasts and I went to webinars, and then all of a sudden real life was in front of me and I would freeze. And so, I am willing to pay for a mentor, an expert, somebody who's been through it, to walk me through it, because the truth is there's been plenty of times in my life, and I'm sure that you can, attest to this as well, where I paid regardless if somebody was holding my hand or not, right? I either pay mistakes or pay somebody to help me not make them.
No, that's 100% accurate. And I feel like one of the biggest things that you can do in real estate is also help other people along that journey. Because what you're describing right now, it seems to me like you could also provide that same quality of service and help coach people along the way. And I feel like we're all kind of getting there together, right? People that are, entering their second or third year investing. This is kind of where we pick up a lot of traction, I've noticed. And I could see you as a coach too. I think you would do great at that.
Thank you. Well, I'm hoping that this podcast helps people as well. But, maybe in the future, I won't rule it out. Helping people is definitely part of this. And the investor community is everybody I meet. Everybody that's successful is so helpful and so willing to share how they got there. There's no secrets. There's no scarcity. And I just love that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no gatekeeping, no scarcity mindset. It's just, honestly, it's probably one of the best things I could say that's happened, so far for my personal life,
Yeah. So it sounds like you're pretty obsessed with real estate too.
Yeah. I told you when I met you at a VPCon out in San Diego. When you told me the name of your podcast, I remember the first things out of my mouth were, dude, that's freaking awesome. Like that is the best name. It summarizes everything up.
Right. It's the truth. It's what I want to talk about. It's what I think about. It's what I wake up. So tell our audience, now that you are gaining momentum, you're in this place with your portfolio and your investing career, what are your current challenges that you're facing?
So current challenges right now is, if I'm just being honest with myself and, everyone out there, it's scaling up, trying to scale the business, trying to look for bigger value add opportunities, and taking that leap of faith to take down bigger projects. Because, I think I mentioned earlier, 10 units in my partnership. I have 5 solo now, and it's getting to the point where, this is great. It's like when you're building a home, right? There's one thing that you really need, and that's a very strong foundation. I feel like I'm finally getting that stability for my investing home, so to speak. Mm-hmm. And the next step is going to be taking down larger multifamily, 5, 10, 20 larger projects. And that is something I really am going to be intentional on in the next, coming years. And that's kind of something where I do see myself almost hitting a plateau, if you will. Like if you're, like in a fitness or working out, and I need to find a way to break through that. So that's something I've been looking to address and just, kind of strengthen myself at, try to persevere and get through that next level.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you sharing that. I agree there sometimes becomes plateaus in our careers and, just finding ways to push past that. And this is, like we said, a great community, and there's plenty of people that are where we want to be. And so I'm going to check back in with you. I'm sure you're going to be scaling in no time. I'm not worried about that.
Right on. Thank you. We'll both get there together.
Oh, yeah. And then we'll laugh and we'll be financially free and it'll be amazing. So tell
100%.
us a brag, a humble brag or not so humble brag, something that you're really proud of. I just really want you to toot your own horn right now.
Man, a humble brag. Goodness, I love the oxymoron.
I know. It can be a not so humble brag. It just,
No, it's all good. Humble brag would be, I don't consider me, when I was doing my first house flip as an investor, I consider when I got my first buy and hold rental as my kind of like start button for investing. So, I'm a little bit over 2 years into this, and I'm almost to the point now. Once I have these last couple of projects finished up, I should have my mortgage covered. And so that's just been something that's been like, on my quote unquote vision board, so to speak. Definitely been something I'm just trying to get to. So, just staying consistent with it, getting the mortgage covered, and then trying to get my net worth up so I could join a certain club. It's I'm trying to think of the name.
Yeah, do tell. We just started tracking our net worth. I shared on the podcast with a group of ladies, my home girls, and how powerful that is tracking your net worth. So I'm all about that. So think about what group that is.
It's Go Abundance. Yeah. So for Go Abundance. Yeah,
that would be cool.
To join their basically, investor mastermind club. They have 2 requirements. You have to pay, I think it's a $10,000 fee to get in. And you also have to have a $1 million net worth. And so my goal is to get not financially free, but get my mortgage and utilities covered by this time next year, along with meeting those requirements so I could join that club.
That is so cool. I did not know that they had those requirements. I love that. It's goal setting as well. I know it could come across as, kind of gatekeeping or like they're too cool for everybody, but I kind of like it because it makes you set that bar.
There's that sense of almost exclusivity to where it motivates, it helps you, it holds you accountable, and it also helps put things in perspective. Because if you think about it, right, if you want to scale, what's something you need to be really good at? Raising money. And I've heard from a good bit of my investor inner spirit of friends, right? They tell me, hey man, join a high value mastermind. And I think to myself, like, man, that's crazy. Like it's hard to justify spending that amount, but the return on investment's infinite. And essentially you can go into these things and, network and JV on deals and, potentially do so much more, such as finding private money. That they have a term, they call them go bros, helping your go bros, find extra sources of passive income as well. Right.
Yeah.
And that's kind of, one of the many benefits that you could expect when you join these high value masterminds.
Are you a part of any masterminds or accountability groups right now?
Currently, no, but my investing partner and I, his name's Jess, we do like a yearly summit, kind of like a retreat, if you will, where we just get a bunch of investors and we go to, pretty cool, like Airbnbs. I think it was 2021. We went to Breckenridge, Colorado. Never been out there before. And this like multi-million-dollar mansion, beautiful, beautiful property. And then in 22, we went to Brady, Texas, which is like the heart of Texas, on this 1,000-acre ranch. We had 12 guys there. Yeah, it was huge. It was a good time. We had 12 really solid people, really solid investor folks. And I think in 23, we're going to try to set something up to go to the Smokies.
Oh, that is so cool. I love that. I know some other investors that do that as well. And to be honest, New Year's, I love Christmas. I love my birthday, but New Year's is my favorite because there's like so much planning involved and excitement around setting goals and looking back on the year and all the hard work I put in and see what I hit and what I didn't hit and why and just restructuring. I love that about the new year and plan and goal setting in general. It's so energizing to me and that's so weird, I know.
I don't think that's weird at all. I think it's like really good for you to, number one, have those milestones and those goals, writing down and hold yourself accountable. But also, like you had just mentioned, be proud of the journey so far. There's
Yeah.
no point in doing this if you're not really enjoying the growth that comes along with it.
Yeah.
And we're kind of, I feel like we're all our biggest critics sometimes. And sometimes we just have to take a step back and say, wow, man, like if you would have told me my life is, or where I am in my life right now, would have told me this about 5 years ago, I would have said,
Yeah.
you're crazy. You're crazy, Alana. There's no way I'd be there. There's no way.
Yeah, I agree. When I was at Investor Con this year, we talked about there was a speaker presenting on the gap and the gain. And I, for the life of me, don't remember the author's name. So I'll put that in the show notes as well. And that was the same. Like, why are so many entrepreneurs depressed? And it's because we're always looking at the gap between where we are and where our goals are. And the goals are always changing, right? As soon as we get close, we push it to the next, right? You're, super successful with your current portfolio, but you're looking at what you're doing next, right? And you're not there yet. And that'll always be, moving as you progress. And just like you said, there's so much happiness in stopping and turning around and looking at how much you've done, looking at the gain. Like, look how far we've come. Look at what we've done in the last year, 5 years, right? And if we don't acknowledge that, then we'll never feel like we're doing enough because we're always comparing ourselves to our future selves.
That's right. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head. In a nutshell, that's what we're all doing here is just, you're never really in competition necessarily with anyone else, more so than it is just your prior self or you're trying to get to your future self. So yeah, I
Yes.
definitely can see, why people can have those issues.
Yeah. So thank you for sharing your brag. I'm really excited for you. Now, please share with us if you have any thoughts on what you would tell your 18-year-old self.
18-year-old Robert, man, that guy he was something else, man. I'm sure if any of my high school friends that hear this, if you know, you know. If I could tell myself anything, it would be three things. I would say, build your credit. And that goes, multiple different avenues. Your personal credit along with your business credit. You should also learn sales, get yourself into a position to where, don't get me wrong, the blue collar work is awesome. I don't regret it at all because it taught me the importance of hard work and being a man of merit, having good integrity. But with sales, you just have this ceiling that there's no ceiling. You can make, $500,000 in 6 months. I know some investors who have gone from leaving their W-2 jobs, 150, 200K earners going to, $500,000 a year. Right.
Yeah.
And then for number three, that's a tough one. Get several hobbies, get a couple different ones to keep yourself physically fit, mentally sharp, and creative. Because if you just let this whole investor persona kind of run or dictate how you are as a person, you kind of lose who you are as your inner person, your inner self. So it's really important to have all those different pieces in line, working together, not against each other.
I love those. There's very well thought out. And I liked your point about learning sales because looking back, I thought that I knew what sales was. Like I've been working since I was 15. Since I was, California said that I was old enough to get a job, I started working, and I thought that I was in sales. My first job, I was selling balloons at the mall. At
No
Great
way.
Mall. Yeah, I'd stand in the center of the mall with like 200 balloons wrapped around my arm, and I would just make change out of my apron for kids and stuff. And I thought that doing stuff like that was sales because I was selling the balloons, right? But really, that's more customer service. And I didn't understand the difference until I actually got into real estate sales, right? I'm a realtor and went down the rabbit hole or studying sales, right?
Right.
I soon realized that I didn't know what to say to carry a conversation in a direction that I wanted it to, as opposed to customer service, where I was pleasant and nice and I could give you what you asked for, right? You want a balloon? Here's a balloon. Like, that was easy. It's not the same. And so I love that you brought that up, because it is a learned skill. You can be naturally inclined to be, service oriented or have good customer service skills. You're charismatic, likable, but it's a learned skill of sales, and it needs to be respected and treated as so. So I love that you highlighted that. Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of one of those things where, hindsight's always 20/20, right? And if I would have known, 10, 12 years ago, whatever, that 14 years, dang, I'm getting up there.
I'm like, how old are you?
Or whatever. Hey, however long ago it is. Yeah.
Long time ago.
Time is relative. Time is relative. If I would have known that, I would be in the situation where my W-2 job helps, provide for my family, right? But what's really helping me build wealth is sales. When it comes to negotiating with a homeowner who wants to sell a property off market and they don't want to fix the roof, or they don't want to update the kitchen, you have to go in there and find a win-win scenario for the seller along with yourself. If you're the investor, if you're representing a buyer, it's all about just trying to get people to compromise and come together, so that way everybody can walk away from that transaction and feel that they're all winning, right?
Right. Getting everybody on the same page, and it's really creating win-win situations and scenarios and creating solutions. And I would love it if you could share with us who or what has been your biggest inspiration.
My biggest inspiration. Oh man, that's a good one. As far as just wanting to be the best version of myself, it kind of stems back to, like just some of my family members growing up. My grandparents. I've seen my grandfather from my dad's side just, sacrifice so much in his life, just provide for the family. My dad's side, they got big, there's, it's a big family on that side. I think when I was growing up in that house, we had 10 people living in a 3-bedroom house.
Oh my goodness.
And, just seeing that hard work ethic and just the consistency to go in every day and just crush it, man. Like, that was inspiring to me. And I feel like those intangibles have kind of been ingrained into my being, because now I'm able to see like, hey, I want to have that same work ethic, but instead of working for somebody else, I want to do it for myself. So that way, I can spend more time with my wife and kids, and, be more present in my, my family, and being more present in my children's upbringing.
I love that. Do you have any book recommendations for our listeners? Real estate, life related or not, or podcasts, something educational? One
of my favorite books, and this kind of goes back to sales. I forget the author, so we're going to have to plug it in the show notes later.
Yeah,
it's called Never Split the Difference. Ever since I read that book, I have just been on a tearing spree when it comes to negotiations.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about this guy. I think he was like an ex-CIA agent. And he was like a hostage negotiator.
Yeah.
And when it comes to never splitting the difference, I mean, that's life or death. You can't split that difference, right? So yeah, 100%. That's probably my favorite book as far as that I've applied toward real estate, aside from the Robert Kiyosaki's, the David Green books, and the Brandon Turner books.
I will admit that I normally would have that author's name on the tip of my tongue because I believe I read that book like 2 or 3 times.
Oh, it's great. It's great. Yeah.
It's really great. And the example he gives for never split the difference. One of the examples in the books that stuck with me was, if you came to your spouse and said, should I wear the blue shoes or the black shoes? And if they said, if you compromised and split the difference, you'd be walking out the door with a blue shoe and a black shoe, and you can't do that.
I couldn't even imagine. Like, and it's funny because the concept is so silly, like the concept of walking out the house with 2 different shoes. But when it comes to negotiations, I mean, if I could just be point blank, it's you're either winning or you're losing. And that's kind of what it all comes down to.
Yeah.
And it goes back to putting yourself in a situation to where you, along with the other people involved, can all feel like you're winning. So that's it.
Yeah. That's the only option. I love that book. And mostly because it has so many tangible, real life things you can use. Sometimes I read books and it feels like all fluff. Like if it was just selling me on a concept, that's one thing. But never split the difference actually had me walk away with tools and tactics that I have used, right? And I think that that's really cool. So if you haven't listened to that and you're listening to this, or you haven't read it, go download it, order it on Amazon, find it in the library. It's definitely worth it and a value add to your life. So tell me what you are obsessed with right now, or in general.
Besides real estate. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, as far as being obsessed with things go, one of the things I like to pride myself in is, I love, coaching, spending time with my little ones, because mentoring the youth, the future minds of, tomorrow will have, huge implications on, society as a future. And if there's one thing I could spend more time on, it would be coaching, usually a sport, right? I grew up playing, sports, never got past like high school or junior college, but, it was still something that I held very near and dear to my heart, the camaraderie, the life lessons learned. And that's something I would, like to spend more time with, more time on, doing. And as far as other things being obsessed with goes, I've become a little bit more obsessed with getting back into health and fitness again. So that's pretty good. I still got a long road ahead of me, but it feels good. It feels good. Been back in the gym for like 8 months now. And it's something I really want to continue to keep pursuing and, trying to beat my previous self on a daily basis.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. Working out and self-care, that's so good for you. And it's good for mental clarity. It's just good all around. So that's great.
Yeah. 100%.
Now transitioning a bit, I want to hear a boring fact about you.
Boring. Something that's like, I don't know if it's boring or more so than it is weird or strange, but growing up, we used to, we're all the same age. Well, you and I are. Something I found kind of interesting was we were never really guided on like how to use the internet growing up, I wasn't supervised too much on it. No. And I remember I was like in 4th grade at the time. My grandparents had this, it was an old like desktop, the old Mac computer. And every time I got home, because they would watch me until my parents picked me up, I would go on the internet and I would research so many useless facts about spiders and insects. So
spiders?
Yeah, like spiders. I had 2 pet tarantulas. Yeah, when I was like in 4th or 5th grade. They were nice. Yeah, they were awesome. Yeah, it's a bit much, I know, but yeah, that's something that I'd say is pretty boring.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting. Not a lot of people can say that that's what they use the internet for, and also that they had pet tarantulas. Is that something that you could see your sons having, is pet tarantulas? Did you have two sons, or you have a boy and a girl?
I have two boys. Yeah, they are. One of them is kind of intrigued by like lizards and stuff, and the other one, my younger one, is like, "No, get it away from me, Dad." It just freaks him out. It's kind of funny.
That is funny. That is funny. So no tarantulas in the Arroyo household as of now or in the near future.
Absolutely not. Ashley would freak out.
Okay. Just checking. So what's next for Robert Arroyo, aka Real Estate Rob?
As far as like my next, milestones or goals are to be concerned, I really want to get more into those larger multifamily spaces, specifically developing. I really want to I really want to do developing for build and holds out of state and, specifically Texas, the market I'm already working in, right? Strictly because I've seen huge rent growth, very, very high demand out there still, and there's just not enough housing. So that's something I want to get into on the buy and hold side. But as you're aware, out here in the Bay Area, properties are going for like $900 a foot in certain markets like Walnut Creek, Danville, San Ramon, all that stuff out here where I'm from in East Bay. And I know I can build for significantly less than that. And I want to get into developing out here locally, build to sell, and with those profits, reinvest them on build to holds out of state.
Yeah, that's really smart. Yeah. So are you taking on investors for that?
Yeah. So I'm looking for, investors, partnerships, multiple different opportunities because, kind of like how we mentioned earlier, there is a lot of opportunities for us to work together. There is no gatekeeping here. There is nothing but an abundance mindset. And I feel that there's enough room for everyone to get a piece of their pie.
I agree. So how could our listeners get a hold of you, get in touch with you, pick your brain, ask you questions, or get more information on investing with you? Yeah.
So if you want to get a hold of me, I would say the best thing to reach out on as far as social media platforms go is Instagram. I'm on there pretty frequently. Real Estate Rob 23 is my handle. So if you want to learn or talk some shop with real estate, feel free to give me a follow. And, I'd be more than happy to discuss strategies and maybe meet up for some coffee or something.
Yeah. And then start your mentorship program. And are you taking on mentees right now? When's that starting?
So I've actually, it's not so much more so like the mentors. I guess it kind of is. So I want it to be more on the logistics side as a consulting firm to where I basically walk people through the entire process. And I've actually pitched it to a few individuals, and there's 2 deals I'm looking at. I'm a little bit spread thin at the moment, so I can't take these deals down myself. So I figure, hey, there's plenty to go around. Let's see if I can get, other people involved or other people on board so I can help them generate long-term wealth as well. Okay.
This is a follow-up question because I'm curious. How are you currently finding deals?
So as far as my current lead source, it's nothing crazy. I'm actually just going through I got a couple wholesalers, a couple local wholesalers, a couple agents, Facebook Marketplace. I found a couple deals on there, believe it or not. Wow. And, I'm not proud to say it, but I found a couple on Craigslist. They're out there, man.
Ashamed. You don't have to be ashamed.
It's a little strange. It's a little janky, find house on Craigslist. Another one is Investor Lift. That's a good website. If you're not aware of it, there's plenty of deals on there. And I'm starting to see
Lift.
Yeah, Investor and then Lift, like you're lifting weights or something.
LIFT.
Correct. Yes. Okay. And last but not least, I'm starting to see a lot more deals coming on just the regular old MLS. It's about that time we're starting to see that shift in the market. So don't sleep on the MLS, folks. There's plenty of deals out there right now.
Perfect. Thanks for sharing that and for all of your insights and tips today. It's been a pleasure interviewing you and talking about you and finding out what makes you tick. So thank you so much, Rob, for coming on. I really appreciate it. This has been a pleasure.
Thanks so much for having me, Alana. It was a pleasure. And, I look forward to seeing you grow and, working together in the future.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks, Rob. So that is all for our show with Robert Arroyo. That was so much fun. I had a great time diving into, his portfolio and what he actually does outside of just his Instagram stories that I see. So if you enjoyed this episode, please leave a 5-star review or a thumbs up. Definitely subscribe on any platform you're listening or watching this on. And as always, you can connect with me on Instagram, AlanaGeorge_real estate, or TikTok, same handle, AlanaGeorge_real estate, or contact me through the show website, obsessedwithrealestateshow.com. Or if you're interested in finding out more information on investing with me, go over to my website, clearconnectioncapital.com. Thank you for listening, and I will see you on the next one.